The narrator described how Ethan sat in a cold basement, walls vibrating with the shriek of alarms as monitors painted his skin in shifting neon. He whispered, "This breach isn't theory anymore, it's alive." The memory of Adrian's promise cut through him like glass, the trust now sour and sharp. Ethan typed with frantic rhythm, every keystroke dragging him further into the forbidden world. His heartbeat thudded like a countdown, each second closer to discovery. Siren light clawed at the concrete, painting his face in blood-red shadows. He muttered, "They'll find me, but they won't silence me." The narrator revealed how the labyrinth of secrets widened before him, and Ethan knew he had stepped across a line that could never be undone. The narrator revealed that Ethan's hands blurred with motion as the alarms screamed, his thoughts drowning in Adrian's silence. He remembered their pact, "We're in this together," but betrayal was written in every second of unanswered static. His knuckles ached, blood smearing keys as he typed harder. The narrator described how trust shattered like glass, each keystroke striking sparks of anger. The headset hissed with white noise, no ally on the line. Only the ghost of loyalty now broken. Ethan muttered, "If they sold me, then I'll burn their lies with truth." His words trembled with fury, but carried a flame that refused to die. The corridors of code widened, endless and dangerous, dragging him deeper. The narrator said his resolve tightened like iron chains, pulling him forward, no retreat left behind him. The narrator described Ethan's chest burning as a monitor screamed, "Access breach detected." He cursed, "They're faster than I thought." His teeth clenched, rage mixing with fear's memories of Adrian's promise poisoned his mind. The hidden world spread across the screens, corridors of infinite code, glowing like neon cathedrals. Ethan's blood streaked faintly on the keyboard, each stroke pushing him deeper. The narrator revealed how the sirens thundered like a second heartbeat, suffocating but igniting his will. "Truth doesn't stay buried," Ethan whispered, voice sharp with defiance. His pupils darted, chasing fragments of encrypted files, eyes wide with obsession. The narrator described how every second drew him closer to the line of no return, his body trembling, but his resolve unshaken, bound to uncover what was hidden. The narrator spoke of Ethan clawing deeper through walls of encryption, firewalls breaking like glass towers. His lips parted, whispering, Adrian knew. He knew this world existed. The red sirens flooded the basement, shadows crawling like predators. Ethan's lungs dragged jagged breaths, fear gnawing but resolve hardening. A door slammed above, footsteps beating through the silence. He whispered, "They're here." The narrator described his eyes shifting between the glowing exit command and the spreading labyrinth of forbidden files. His fingers froze for a heartbeat, torn between survival and revelation. Fear pulsed in his throat, but determination consumed it, leaving only fire. The hidden corridors beckoned with dangerous light, and Ethan muttered, "Not yet." The narrator said he chose to push further deeper into the storm. The narrator described Ethan leaning closer, chair creaking beneath his weight. His eyes burned with obsession, memories twisting back to the night Adrian handed him the key and whispered, "This will change everything." Ethan spat. Change built on betrayal. His pulse thundered, sirens blending into the rhythm of his heartbeat. The narrator spoke of the screens blooming wider, rivers of light unraveling secrets buried for decades. His fingers pounded the keys until skin split, but he refused to slow. He said, "Even if I fall, the truth will not." Footsteps rattled the floor above, closer, heavier, yet he did not move. The narrator revealed his threshold was crossed, no longer just a hacker, now a witness to the unseen world, bound by fire and betrayal. The narrator revealed that Ethan staggered into a hidden loft above the city, his chest heaving as the alarms faded into memory, but the betrayal remained sharp. The air was stale, thick with dust and old machines humming faintly. His thoughts spiraled to Adrian's silence, twisting in his gut like poison. He whispered, "If I trust again, it could kill me." A shadow shifted near the window, and Marcus stepped into the glow of a single lamp. His voice was low and steady. "You shouldn't have come here, but you did, and that means you're already hunted." Ethan's jaw tightened, his eyes refusing to drop. The narrator described how Marcus's presence brought a strange calm, yet suspicion burned between them like fire barely held back. The bond was fragile, but it was all Ethan had left. The narrator spoke of Marcus leaning against the wall, his posture sharp, his eyes heavy with years of secrets. He said, "You're reckless, Ethan, but reckless people sometimes survive where careful ones die." Ethan swallowed hard, fire sparking behind his exhaustion. He muttered, "Reckless or not, I saw it, Marcus. The world they've hidden." Silence filled the loft, dust drifting like ash in the pale light. Marcus exhaled through his nose, tension coiled in every word. "Seeing isn't surviving. They'll bury you before the truth breathes daylight." The narrator revealed the space between them, heavy with mistrust, yet bound by need. Ethan's determination cut through the air, his voice low. "Then let them try." The atmosphere held a fragile alliance, forged not in trust, but desperation. The narrator described how the tension snapped when Lena arrived, footsteps echoing against the loft's metal stairs. She moved with quiet urgency, her eyes meeting Ethan's, carrying both relief and fear. She said, "You're alive. But for how long?" Ethan forced a weary smile, long enough to finish this. Marcus scowled, folding his arms, mistrust heavy in his posture. The narrator revealed how Lena's presence softened the edges of Ethan's fury, grounding him in a way the chaos could not. Yet her voice carried warning. "They're watching every shadow. One wrong step, and we're gone." Ethan's jaw clenched, his silence carrying more than words. The three of them stood like broken pieces pulled together. Their bond fragile but essential, united by survival and the truth they chased. The narrator revealed how the loft filled with hushed voices, the three figures arguing against the ticking clock. Marcus snapped, "We can't fight them head on. We need shadows, not battles." Lena's eyes narrowed, her voice sharp. "Shadows won't save us if the truth dies in silence." Ethan's fingers clenched against the table, maps and hard drives spread before him like a war altar. He said, "We don't have to survive. We just have to make sure the truth does." The narrator described how his words cut through the tension, silence gripping the loft in its aftermath. Marcus's jaw tightened, but his eyes softened for a heartbeat. Lena placed a hand on Ethan's wrist, her touch trembling but steady. Their fragile unity began to stitch itself together, sewn with threads of desperation and fire. The narrator described the night, deepening as rain streaked against cracked loft windows, the storm outside mirroring the one within. Ethan whispered, "We're pieces of a game they've hidden for decades." Lena's voice trembled but carried strength. "Pieces can still topple a king." Marcus paced, boots thudding like thunder, muttering, "Or get crushed before the board even shifts." The narrator revealed the air thick with doubt, but sparked with resolve. Ethan's eyes burned as he said, "They think we're already broken, but broken things cut deepest." Lightning flared through the glass, shadows leaping across their faces. The narrator described how the storm outside echoed the storm inside them, fragile, furious, but unyielding. Their war was only beginning, and the cost was already written in their silence. The narrator described how the loft fell into silence, but silence was never safety. Ethan stared at the code still running on his laptop, a labyrinth of digital corridors opening like veins across the screen. Marcus muttered, "You're lighting a beacon for every hunter in the city." Ethan's jaw tightened as he answered, "Good, let them come." Lena's voice cracked through the storm outside. "Don't you understand? Adrian is already moving. He knows your patterns, your habits, your weaknesses." The name struck like a blade, carving fresh fear through Ethan's chest. The narrator revealed that the betrayal was no longer faceless. Adrian's shadow was everywhere, watching, hunting. The weight of his former friend's silence pressed down harder than the storm. Ethan whispered, "Then we'll rewrite the rules before he closes in." The narrator revealed that Adrian's voice finally broke the silence. carried not through walls but through the laptop speakers. His tone was calm, venom laced in every syllable. Still chasing ghosts, Ethan? You were always good at chasing, never catching. Ethan froze, his breath jagged as he whispered, Adrian. Marcus stiffened, his fists curling like stone. Lena stepped forward, her voice sharp. He's tracing us right now. The narrator described how the loft's atmosphere fractured, fear creeping into every corner. Ethan's knuckles whitened against the desk, rage climbing into his voice. You sold me out. Adrian's voice chuckled, smooth as poison. I gave you purpose. You just never understood who owned the truth. The storm outside rattled the windows, as if the world itself recoiled. The narrator described how Adrian's laughter echoed like broken glass through the speakers. Ethan slammed the desk, his voice a growl. You buried the truth, Adrian, and you think I'll let you keep it hidden. Adrian's tone hardened, steel beneath sill. Truth is only power when controlled. You think you've seen betrayal, Ethan? You haven't seen mine. Marcus's hand twitched toward a knife resting on the table, but Lena pulled him back, her voice trembling. This isn't his fight. The narrator revealed Ethan's chest pounding like war drums, every memory of their friendship unraveling into venom. Adrian whispered, You were always predictable, always emotional. That's why you'll lose. Ethan leaned closer to the screen, his voice low and sharp. Not this time. The narrator spoke of tension snapping like wires pulled too tight. Marcus growled, This ends with blood. Lena's voice cut back, No, it ends with truth. Ethan's eyes burned as he forced his hands back to the keyboard, code exploding across the screen like fire. He said, If Adrian wants to play predator, I'll tear the ground from under him. Adrian's voice slithered back through the speakers, bold words from a boy who still believes in justice. The narrator described how stormlight flickered through the loft, casting lightning shadows across their faces. Marcus slammed a fist on the table, rattling hardware. Ethan's breath steadied, his body trembling but his spirit sharpening into steel. The narrator revealed how betrayal had become fuel, and the war was only beginning to ignite. The narrator revealed how the storm outside roared louder, drowning the city in chaos as the three stood bound by fragile unity. Ethan muttered, Adrian thinks he owns the truth. He's wrong. It belongs to everyone. Marcus's voice was sharp. Then we bleed for it. Lena's hand brushed Ethan's shoulder, her voice softer but steady. And if we fall knowing we tried. The narrator described how Ethan's screen filled with encrypted maps, pathways leading deeper into Adrian's hidden empire. His voice was cold now, sharp as the storm itself. He buried his secrets in shadows. Then that's where we'll hunt. The loft shook with thunder, shadows breaking apart like shattered glass. The narrator revealed how Ethan's path had shifted, from survival to open war. The narrator revealed how the loft's walls seemed to press inward, heavy with suspicion. Ethan pounded at the keyboard, code spiraling like storm clouds across the screens. Marcus watched with a scowl, his silence sharp as blades. Lena whispered, We can't outrun him forever. He's inside our walls already. Ethan shot her a glance, eyes hollow from exhaustion. Then we fight where he least expects. The narrator described how Marcus shifted, his stance rigid, voice rough. Or we stop before we all burn. The air fractured with tension, fragile unity splintering under the weight of fear. Ethan muttered, We didn't come this far to break. But his words trembled, betrayed by doubt. The narrator revealed how Adrian's shadow grew larger, not from distance but from within their circle. The narrator described how Adrian's voice slipped back through the speakers, sharp as broken glass. Look at them, Ethan. Do you really trust them? Ethan froze, the venom of doubt seeping into his chest. Marcus's glare cut across the room. Shut it off before he poisons us. Lena's voice wavered. Maybe he's right. Maybe he knows something we don't. Ethan's hands trembled, his voice low but fierce. Don't give him space in your head. The narrator revealed how Adrian's laughter filled the loft, low and cruel. You can't bury what's already rotting, Ethan. Betrayal always begins inside the house. Thunder cracked outside, rattling the windows. Ethan's chest heaved, torn between loyalty and suspicion. The narrator said the first fractures appeared, small but deadly, like cracks in glass before it shatters. The narrator revealed how Marcus slammed his fist on the table, dust scattering like ash. "We can't keep chasing ghosts," he snarled. Lena's voice cracked. "He's not wrong, Ethan. Maybe you're dragging us into a war we can't win." Ethan's chest tightened, rage and grief tangled in his breath. He said, "You think I chose this? You think I wanted betrayal?" Silence thickened, heavy as iron. The narrator described how Lena stepped back, her gaze flickering between loyalty and doubt. Marcus's eyes burned with mistrust, his voice a low growl. "I'll follow you, but if you falter, I won't fall with you." Ethan's voice broke to a whisper. "Then don't follow me. Stand beside me." The narrator revealed that their fragile bond wavered, bending closer to the edge of ruin. The narrator described how the loft seemed colder, silence stretching between them like a blade. Ethan typed furiously, sparks of code flooding the screens with fragmented maps. Lena moved closer, her hand brushing his shoulder. She said softly, "I want to believe you, Ethan, but belief can kill." His throat tightened, his voice breaking. "Belief is all we have left." The narrator revealed how Marcus turned away, his profile cut by lightning through cracked windows. He muttered, "You're gambling with more than your life." Adrian's voice hissed again through the feed. "One of them already doubts you, Ethan. Doubt is a wound that never closes." Ethan slammed the laptop shut, the silence deafening. The narrator revealed how Adrian's poison lingered, splitting the air, binding them tighter even as it drove them apart. The narrator revealed how the storm raged harder, as if echoing the chaos inside. Ethan stared at the blackened screen, his reflection fractured in the glass. He muttered, "He's turning us against each other." Marcus's voice cut sharp. "He doesn't need to. You're doing it yourself." Lena's breath caught, her voice softer but trembling. "If we can't trust, we're already lost." The narrator described how Ethan's body shook, torn between fury and despair, his hands hovering over keys like weapons. Adrian's voice lingered in memory, cruel and calm. "Betrayal begins inside the house." Ethan whispered, "Not if I burn it first." Lightning lit the loft in blinding white, thunder cracking as if the world itself divided. The narrator revealed how trust splintered further, betrayal taking root in silence. The narrator described how the loft grew colder, screens flickering with static as if Adrian's presence infected the air. Ethan's fingers hovered over the keyboard, heart pounding like war drums. Adrian's voice slid back through the speakers. "Do you think you found me?" "No, Ethan. I led you here." Ethan froze, his chest hollowing with realization. Marcus muttered, "Trap." Lena's hand pressed to her lips, her voice barely a whisper. "He wanted this all along." The narrator revealed how Adrian's calm words carried more weight than the storm outside. "You were never hunting me," Adrian said, his tone sharp as glass. "You were following the path I built." Ethan's voice cracked. "You used me." The silence after his words wasn't empty, it was betrayal incarnate. The narrator revealed how Adrian leaned closer to the camera, his eyes like steel. "You think betrayal is the twist, Ethan? No. The twist is that you've been my creation from the start." Ethan's throat tightened, rage trembling through his voice. "Lies." Adrian smirked, his tone smooth. "Who gave you your first key? Who taught you to breach? You weren't chosen. You were built." Marcus slammed a fist against the table, growling, "He's rewriting history." Lena's voice cracked with fear. "Or he's telling the truth." The narrator described Ethan's mind spiraling, every memory with Adrian shifting, poisoned by doubt. Adrian whispered, "You never escaped me. You never will." Ethan's jaw clenched, whispering, "Then I'll destroy you, even if you are part of me." The narrator described how the storm rattled the loft as Ethan's memories unraveled. And he remembered Adrian's hand guiding him years ago, the voice that once promised brotherhood. That voice now dripped poison. "You think you chose justice," Adrian hissed, "but justice was my leash." Ethan's breath faltered, his past twisted into chains he couldn't escape. Marcus spat. "He's manipulating you. Don't let him." Lena's voice wavered. "But what if it's true?" Ethan's hand slammed the desk, splinters digging into his skin. He growled, "You don't own me." The narrator revealed Adrian's smirk widening. "If you truly believe that, prove it. Betray me." Thunder cracked overhead as Ethan leaned closer, whispering, "I already did." His words cut like a blade in the silence. The narrator revealed how Adriana's smirk shifted into cold fury. "Then you've declared war against the one who made you." Ethan's voice cracked, fire burning beneath his exhaustion. "Then I'll unmake you." Marcus growled, "Stop playing his game, we hit him now." Lena's voice trembled, her hand pressing against the table. "But if he's right, Ethan, if you are what he says." Her words faded into silence, heavy enough to crush the room. Ethan's chest heaved, torn between fury and despair. Adrian's voice slid back, calm again. "The truth doesn't set you free, Ethan. It breaks you." The narrator described how Ethan stared into the static, rage twisting into defiance. He whispered, "Then let it break me." The storm outside screamed like steel tearing apart. The narrator described how lightning split the sky, the loft quaking under the storm. Ethan's scream bled static, Adrian's image fading but his voice lingering. "You will never defeat me because you are me." Ethan's breath caught, fury mixing with horror. Lena whispered, "What if he's right? What if every choice you made was his design?" Marcus barked, "Then we rewrite the design." Ethan's chest burned, his voice rising above the storm. "I'm not his creation. I'm his undoing." The narrator revealed how the room pulsed with tension. Betrayal transformed into a weapon, instead of a wound. Ethan's eyes narrowed as he leaned into the chaos of code. His voice cut the silence. "Adrian built me. Now I'll destroy him, line by line." The storm roared as if the world agreed. The narrator described how the storm outside howled like a living beast, pounding against the loft's windows, as if the sky itself raged with them. Ethan's fingers struck the keys like weapons, every line of code carving deeper into Adrian's empire. Sparks of light danced across the monitors, cascading maps of firewalls collapsing one after another. Marcus paced like a predator in a cage, knife glinting under the flickering lamps. "We're running out of time," he snapped, his voice hoarse with urgency. Lena's hand trembled over a drive, her eyes locked on Ethan. "If you push harder, they'll trace us in seconds," she warned, desperation cutting through her tone. Ethan's voice was raw, edged with fire. "Then seconds are enough. Adrian built me to be his shadow. Now I'll be the fire that burns him down." The narrator revealed how silence trembled between them, the silence before the kill. The narrator revealed that Adrian's voice boomed through the speakers, louder now, steady, unshaken by Ethan's fury. "You believe you've breached me, but every path you walk is mine. Every shadow you crawl through, I built." Ethan's breath burned, his veins screaming with adrenaline. "Then you'll die in your own maze." The screens flared white, Adrian's image filling every monitor. His smirk twisted into rage. "You think truth belongs to the world? No, truth belongs to the one who controls it." Marcus slammed the table with his fist, snarling, "Then we take it." Lena stepped closer, her voice breaking with emotion. "Ethan, if you lose yourself in this, you'll become him." The narrator described how Ethan's hands shook, not from fear, but from the weight of her words. He whispered, "Maybe I already am, but even broken, I'll never be him." The storm outside cracked, thunder echoing his vow. The narrator described how Ethan's screen erupted into cascading streams of code, two forces colliding like armies in battle. Adrian's voice was sharp and merciless. "You will drown in what you don't understand." Ethan's voice cut back, each word a blade. "Then drown with me." Sparks flared from the hardware as power surged, smoke curling in the air. Marcus stood ready, knife drawn, his eyes locked on the loft door as footsteps thundered in the stairwell below. "They're coming," he roared. Lena clutched Ethan's shoulder, her voice breaking. "Don't give in, Ethan. He wants you to lose yourself." Ethan's teeth clenched, eyes bloodshot, veins bulging with the weight of the storm raging inside him. The narrator revealed how the clash was no longer only digital. It was a war of wills, of identities colliding in the fire of betrayal. And neither would yield. The narrator revealed how the loft became a crucible of fire and betrayal. Lightning lit the sky as Adrian's soldiers forced their way up the stairs, boots pounding like war drums. Marcus barked, "They're inside!" He lunged toward the door, knife glinting. Lena shouted, her voice filled with fear. "Marcus, no!" Ethan's hands tore across the keyboard, code unraveling into chaos. Adrian's voice seared through the speakers. "You can't kill me, Ethan. You kill yourself." The narrator described how Ethan's vision blurred with exhaustion, sweat dripping into his eyes. "Better me than the world," he spat. The screen screamed with collapsing systems, sparks raining over the desk. Marcus grappled with shadows bursting through the door, steel clashing in the storm of the loft. Lena screamed Ethan's name as the walls shook with violence. The narrator revealed that the climax was not just a fight of data and code, but blood and betrayal, body against body, truth against control. The narrator described how thunder roared like the world splitting apart. Ethan's screen exploded with static, but within the chaos, one encrypted vault cracked open, spilling its secrets. Adrian's face twisted, his calm shattered into rage. "No!" he bellowed, the loft trembling with his fury through the speakers. Ethan's fingers bled against the keys, every stroke costing him, but he did not stop. He growled, "You don't own me, Adrian. Not anymore." Marcus roared as he slammed an intruder against the wall, blood spraying into shadows. Lena clung to Ethan's arm, tears streaming as she shouted, "You'll burn yourself alive!" The narrator revealed how Ethan's final line of code struck like lightning, crashing through Adrian's empire. Adrian screamed, his face dissolving into digital fragments, his voice breaking. "If I fall, you fall with me." Ethan whispered, trembling, "Then let's fall together." The loft erupted in white light as the climax tore through them all. The narrator revealed how silence finally fell, a silence heavier than thunder. The loft was broken, wires sparking faintly, the storm outside fading to a hollow drizzle. Ethan sat slumped before the ruined monitors, smoke curling upward like the ashes of a battlefield. His chest rose and fell in jagged bursts, blood dripping from his fingertips onto shattered keys. Marcus staggered from the doorway, his clothes torn, his body marked with cuts and bruises. He muttered, "We're alive, for now." Lena knelt beside Ethan, her trembling hands brushing his arm. "You burned yourself to save us," she whispered, her voice shaking like fragile glass. Ethan's eyes, red and exhausted, lifted toward the faint light breaking through the rain. He said, "I didn't save us. I just cut one chain." The narrator described how the room held only survivors, not victors. The narrator described how the loft smelled of burnt wires and blood, every corner whispering of battles fought and nearly lost. Ethan's breath shook as he tried to stand, but Lena's hands pressed against his chest, forcing him down gently. "Rest," she pleaded. His lips cracked into a bitter half-smile. "Rest is a luxury we can't afford." Marcus limped closer, knife still in hand, his eyes shadowed with pain. "Adrian's gone, but so are we. They'll hunt us now, every step." The narrator revealed that Ethan's gaze turned to the shattered monitors, fragments of Adrian's face still flickering before dissolving into darkness. "He's not gone," Ethan whispered, voice thin but sharp. "Pieces of him are still alive, scattered in the code, and maybe in me." Lena shook her head, tears streaking her face. "You're not him." The silence afterward was heavy, broken only by the crackle of dying machines. The narrator revealed how dawn crept slowly through the shattered windows, painting the loft in gray light. Ethan's eyes flickered open, watching dust drift like ash in the still air. Marcus stood near the window, shoulders hunched, his voice low. The world doesn't know what we've done. They won't believe it if we tell them. Lena's voice cut in, trembling but steady. Then we don't tell them, we show them. Ethan coughed, his voice broken. And if it kills us? Lena turned her gaze on him, her eyes fierce, even through tears. Then we die carrying truth, not silence. The narrator described how her words struck deep, anchoring Ethan's despair with fragile hope. He closed his eyes for a moment, then whispered, "Adrian thought he owned the truth. He was wrong. The truth belongs to no one." Dawn spread further, a quiet promise after the storm. The narrator described how Ethan finally pulled himself to his feet, legs trembling, but resolve steadying his broken body. The monitors lay silent, blackened, the battlefield reduced to smoldering ruins. He said quietly, "Adrian's gone, but his empire isn't. We cut the head, not the body." Marcus's jaw tightened, his voice heavy with resignation. "Then the war hasn't ended. It's only begun." Lena stepped closer, her hand brushing Ethan's arm. "You don't have to fight it alone anymore." Ethan's eyes shifted between them, suspicion still lingering but softened now by survival. He muttered, "Alone was how he built me. Together is how we destroy him." The narrator revealed how the three of them stood amid the ashes, broken but unyielding. The storm outside had passed, but inside, another storm brewed, one of vengeance, of survival, of truth unchained. The narrator revealed how Ethan walked to the shattered window, glass crunching under his boots. The city stretched below, alive and unaware of the war waged above its rooftops. His voice was quiet, almost swallowed by the morning wind. "We bleed, we break, we burn, and the world doesn't even know." Marcus's voice was low, heavy, with scars. "One day they will." Lena stepped beside Ethan, her hand slipping into his, her voice soft but unwavering. "We carry the truth now. That's our burden. That's our gift." Ethan's gaze lingered on the horizon, dawn spilling like fire across the skyline. His lips parted with a whisper sharp enough to scar the silence. "Adrian thought betrayal would break me. He was wrong. It made me unstoppable." The narrator described how the moment froze in time, the silence carrying more weight than words. The final breath of Act 7 lingered like a wound that refused to close.